Good. Thanks. It's always a pleasure being the first one after a coffee corner and bringing in the people. So let's see if the crowd goes up. First of all, big shout out to the organizers because I told it you at the moment, right? But I think this event is really, really well managed, very professionally. So I'm very happy to be here to present you a little bit about my experience as a product manager at SAP, working at the intersection between like traditional companies and also like the crazy wild west of Web3 and how things are. So first things first, I think we are running a marathon. If you work in crypto, I need to tell you, you signed up for a marathon. It's really exhausting, very long time also until a project is successful. And it's really a long time also for us. Because we really believe in a new paradigm, and this paradigm is decentralization, it's being owner of its own content, certain other things, token economy. It's really about, we believe in a new paradigm that's not, or where we see a better future compared to where we are today. And for every marathon, you should actually study the trail and like maybe look at the past, hey, what worked well when I did my training run, but also look into the future, hey, where are there some hikes or obstacles I need to pay attention? Because otherwise you will be super exhausted. And this was me running my first marathon when I was actually not studying the trail. And it really hurt me a lot, to be very frank. So that's the primer for everybody working in crypto, at least what I see. And this is for several reasons. Let's look a little bit in the past for enterprise software, right? SAP was founded, I think, 50 years ago, when like computers became mainstream. But enterprises and organizations needed to manage their processes already and do accounting, right? The first ledger was pen and paper. And then, like with on-premise, you had your mainframe, you could purchase a license, plug it in, run the software on your own. That's kind of the on-premise area. And now we have this third paradigm with cloud, maybe Web 2 you call it, where you have centralized services. It's very cheap, very scalable, and actually really good breeding ground for AI use cases because you have very centralized platforms. They sit on a data treasure, and they can do amazing things with AI. Let's just look at ChatGPT, etc. So as you see, enterprise software evolved over the years, right? And it would be also the right conclusion to say, okay, maybe there's even a new paradigm after that. And for me, at least personally how I see it, it's really on-chain. It's the deployment model on where to deploy code. You could deploy it in a written form on a paper. You could deploy it on your laptop as on-premise if you purchase the license. You can do it in the cloud, deploy it in the hyperscaler, or you can actually deploy your code that runs the process on-chain as a smart contract or whatever, or dApp. And this is also the reason why I believe we're really running a marathon, because most companies I see and work with, they are stuck between here. They still have their own software run in their own data centers. A lot are now making the move to the cloud, still some to follow, but it's really, it takes time. You highly underestimate the stickiness of enterprise software when one company actually purchased it. I mean, I'm still young, but I work now for 8 years at SAP, and it's really astonishing to see how long certain projects can run to do the migration from an on-premise and cloud world and actually also transform the processes. The same will need to happen for on-chain. So the question is, how can you actually build bridges and make it easier for companies that do want to move to an on-chain world because they have better and more efficient processes to go there. And for this, I do want to look at a very simple like product management framework, right? So first pillar is like, is the solution actually desirable? So is there a business value, a clear business value why I should use the solution? Second pillar is the viability. This is a little bit more for the enterprise, but can I sell this software in a sustainable way? Like, can I make profit, money with it? Is the business model viable? And then third, feasibility. Like, is the technology fitting my purpose and actually working in the way I intend it to do? So I brought some statistics to look at it and look where maybe some challenges are. Exactly, so tailwinds over the Brooklyn Bridge into the on-chain world. First one, desirability. One major use case I see personally is that stablecoins actually find traction and utility. Why do I believe this? Because 70% of the on-chain transaction value is actually generated by stablecoins, while they only compose like 10% of the market cap of the whole crypto market, right? And what does on-chain transaction mean? People are using it for several reasons. Could be a cross-border payment, could be a remittance, but they are using it. It's really comparable if we go back to the SaaS world. You pay a subscription, you want to use the software. If you're not seeing the value, you just cancel your subscription and you're out. That's the churn in the cloud world everybody is preventing you from or does not want to happen. The same you see here with stablecoins. They find utility, they find traction. People, enterprises can and want to use it. And this is really driven by, I mentioned it, certain use cases I see. It's really cross-border payments. It's super inefficient to send money to Argentina if you want as a big corporate. It's also really about tokenizing fiat. And third, and I think this is maybe a little bit the first thing where the European Union actually could lead is again regulation, because a lot of TradFi and fintechs are now really considering crypto again and stepping up. And this, in my opinion, actually drives then adoption also to the enterprise, because if the traditional finance institutions can offer financial products crypto-related, it just creates a lot more trust with the enterprise to actually onboard into this world. Second, feasibility. In the enterprise context, or at least also when I go around internally, there is this great joke, right? What is a blockchain? It's just a super expensive database. And this statement is actually not true anymore. Because, I mean, you are quite the experts here, but after the Duncan upgrade, the L2 chains actually are very competitive in terms of a transaction fee. So it gets really competitive to push a payment over an L2 and not over like a credit card. Like if you look at the established credit card networks, usually they take a 1% to 2% fee plus 8 cents for a generic payment. Like this is your mom and pop shop down the road. Also the reason why they usually or do not want to accept credit cards at some point. But if you now compare it with an L2, with usually between 1 and 3 cents, it becomes a very, very comparable and competitive to use blockchain as a payment rail. Viability. Can a company generate profit with blockchain, and like sustainable profit, not like creating a meme coin, pumping it, taking in the cash and running away? And if you look at Ethereum, LSDL1, I would sell, hell yeah, you can make a lot of profit with a protocol and very sustainable. I think the numbers are a little bit outdated because I looked up 2 weeks ago. But in the last 90 days, Ethereum generated revenue of almost $1 billion US. That's sizable. And if you subtracted minus the token incentives, it's a profit of approximately 200 million in the last 90 days. That's huge. Without any CEO, sure, you have a great community like in Belgrade and everywhere around the globe who's really pushing the product, adopting it, and using it. But in terms of employee to revenue comparison, that's quite leading. And profits attract companies. So people are really willing to pay for block space. Let's have a quick case study of it. I'm sure everybody is aware of Base. Base is an L2, which was spun out by Coinbase. Coinbase, in my opinion, is really a Web2 company. They're crypto native because they understand it. Centralized exchange, but the technology is based on cloud software, right? And what they did is really spun out Base, in my opinion, in a very, very great way, and also made 40 million in the last 90 days with, I think, a team of 10, 15 people. That's insane. Why do they do this? Because they are now building a bridge from the cloud Web2 world into the on-chain Web3 world with this L2. Plus, it's good business for them. Also there, in terms, if you compare it employees versus revenue, employee and revenue quote, it's a very, very sizable quote. And you can make hybrid applications. So think about your Coinbase account. You can now make the US dollar payment already on Base. It's a hybrid scenario. You have the blockchain embedded, but the user still has the feeling, hey, I'm in the cloud world. So it's really helping the adoption of enterprises and users to use blockchain technology in a way. So those are the reasons why I believe the 3 dimensions are closer than ever, right? So we're really at the edge where enterprises can adopt certain things, and the most demanded use cases I see is really cross-border payments. It's quite straightforward. NFT for loyalty and marketing, so enterprises really realize, hey, there's a new marketing channel, there's a new audience, a younger audience I can reach with NFT, with coins. The other thing is really about supply chain traceability, and the 4th thing is about the whole notion of remote workers and how do I pay my remote workers in crypto when they sit in Argentina and South Africa, wherever. So the usual shilling a little bit about what SAP is doing, right? We're a big company. We're really a cloud company, one of the leaders. But we're also really looking into how can we make digital currency and payments better. So one of the products I think we hope, or I know we will launch soon, is the SAP Digital Currency Hub. It's an enterprise wallet, which integrates into your financial processes. Second solution is SAP Green Token, which is a solution to trace your supply chain in certain commodities, for example, like palm oil, and do the mass balance to really say, okay, this is organic palm oil because of the mass balance. And the third thing is an NFT management platform for exactly this community building and marketing purpose. Simon, so you say, okay, we are at the edge of the sweet spot. Where's the mass adoption? When Lambu, when Moon? And that's the tricky part. Remember, we're on a marathon. And there is this great book by Geoffrey Moore called The Chasm. And it really explains how to market innovation and technology. And we are still very, very early. We still have not found this gap, the chasm. In my opinion, I think we're still a little bit with the innovators, the early adopters. We're growing, new people, new enterprises coming in every day, every year. That's great, but it's still not the early majority. Why do I believe this? There was a great study by Casper Lab last year, and they asked enterprises around the world, hey, which of the following would increase your likelihood to adopt blockchain for your business? And 50% of them said, I need to learn more how my peers are actually using it. So they're really trying to get some references and see what's actually possible today. 47% of them said, I need to learn more about blockchain. I don't feel comfortable working with this technology. So it's really about education and enablement. And 43%, they lack a clear understanding of the business value. So what can this technology provide actually for my business? Like, can it increase revenue? Can it cut cost? Can it prevent me from a fraud? What does it do? So it's really also about the product messaging of those Web3 products. Have a look. Now let's have a look how to maybe prevent this, and for the future, how to think about, hey, how can we drive the enterprise adoption in the ecosphere? Because we are really transitioning from the innovators to the early adopters to the early majority. And the tricky part is the early majority, so the customers you want to get after the big gap, they only buy from the early majority. So you have this deadlock situation where everybody is cross-referencing everybody and nobody does want to make the first move. So how do you actually resolve this in a nice manner? How do you create this referenceability without being the first who needs to adopt it? And also here, maybe a very basic case study on how to do it with the US dollar and stablecoins. But you need to provide your buyer and the buying center two alternatives. One is the market alternative. That's what already is in use, everybody is used to, and knows how to use it. It's very simple. In our case, US dollar, your fiat system, everybody knows it. It's the old tech, if you will. And you need a product alternative, which is built on the new tech in a broader market. Because this is how you tell the buying center to say, look, there's also the tech alternative with the same benefits as we do. And Circle, I just picked Circle for some reason. They did it quite nicely because, and this is just from their website, right? They claim money is now open, move money faster and securely with USDC. So you can really make it easy for a buying center to understand, okay, if I use a Circle stablecoin, it's new tech, I get the efficiencies, but on the other side, I also have references to the old world, fiat money, and the other product alternative could be Tether, could be your other USD stablecoin, right? That's how you resolve this referenceability. Second thing is education. Executives and buying centers, they need to be able to use blockchain safely. If you remember, in the on-premise world, everybody was used to make a backup. In the cloud world, no one does a backup now because like cloud and the service provider, they do it for you. On the other side, you needed to learn, maybe I shouldn't put my very confidential information into this cloud service. I don't really recall where like the computer is standing, right? So it's really also a habit change how to use the technology. The same will need to happen for enterprises and executives with Web3 and blockchain. So they need to learn it. They need to learn what is a wallet, how do I sign transactions, what do I do with it, why is it helpful, and it will take time. I mean, you sign up for a marathon, right? Plus, user experience still sucks, honestly. Like if I make some transactions larger, I still sweat. Like sometimes you're really not sure, will this work? I did some test transactions, but it could still fail. So user experience is still a big gap, like on the UX side, on the transaction side. I think we're making good progress on the account abstraction side and smart wallets. That's a very nice thing. It's going into the right direction, but it's still not there yet where my grandma would use it, right? And the other thing, executives don't care on what technology your product is built on. Like they really don't care. It could be smart monkeys sitting somewhere doing the calculation. If it would be fast enough, cheap enough, they would buy it. From a technology perspective, they just don't care what you're using. period. And this is also what you need to understand for the product messaging of your enterprise product. They care about the business value. So be very precise and maybe have some very concrete KPIs or, again, references to say, this is how this solution is helping your business. It's bringing 10% more revenue. It's reducing churn by 15%. But this is what executives need to understand before they can make the buying decision. So it's really about creating a clear business outcome and a clear product messaging. And I think the industry grew up a lot, also matured, but we're still too crypto-centric in a way. And I think we did it even like with one product of ours, like A/B tested it. So one was really a crypto-centric landing page. The other one was really centered around the business outcome. And guess what? Actually won and brought the most leads. It was the outcome-centric landing page. No one cared about blockchain, really no one. Cool. Yeah, so, I mean, we have a bunch of people here. If you're a developer, if you're a product manager, if you're a community builder, you're on the right track. The tech is there. It's really about now building, educating also the businesses, the enterprises. And if you build a product or community, then really go for the business outcomes. Like, don't go for the crypto just because of crypto's sake, but make the business better. This is also a little bit my personal mission. I do want to educate executives in Web3 because I really think this is a big lever in driving adoption. So I'm currently planning to write a small book. Will be a very quick, a lot of pictures. Executives like pictures. So if you want to help me, it's a short survey. Just type in what you believe they should know if you have experience, and I'll just send you also the first draft. Cool, that's me. I mean, if you want to connect, feel free. I'll be around here whole day, also tomorrow. So if you just want to chat, maybe also see the products we develop, hit me up. And with that, I think we're open for Q&A.
We definitely are. So first of all, give it up for Simon. And let us open a quick Q&A session. So with that being said, do we have any questions in the audience? Yes, over there.
Do we have a mic or?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Great presentation. So you showed the use case slide with 4, and all of those use cases are at least 7 years old.
They are.
2017. And the only one, so obviously cross-border payments using stables is like very much been adopted, but the other 3 I would like be pretty confident to say I've basically seen no progress, at least in actual adoption. And the innovation in blockchain is like the consensus layer, right? Not the execution layer, but you had that slide talking about on-chain compute is like a next step in the same we went on-prem to cloud. And so at what point would you give up on this belief that enterprises are going to put compute on blockchain? You know, if 5 years from now, 4 years from now, we still have only seen stablecoin, whether it's like remittance payments, cross-border payments, however you want to look at it, if all we have is stablecoins as the only use case for businesses on chain, would you, basically give up? Like, would you realize that this is actually maybe not a technological innovation that applies to business, and it really applies to entities that are more likely to have a dispute, maybe like central banks, this sort of stuff?
Good question.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing. The consensus layer for the business world is contract law. And so, like, you're not going to replace that with a blockchain. So yeah, just when would you give up? But yeah, great presentation. Thank you.
It's a very good and very valid question, actually. I would answer it like this. Personally, I'm very excited about currently like the whole DePIN narrative is also doing in like decentralizing the cloud and everything. So there is a way to decentralize your compute. But the question is, what is currently cheaper to really compute, and where do you actually train I think like the most compute-intensive applications we know as of today, the AI models, right? It's all centralized data center, highly optimized, because centralization is cheaper, faster, right? That's the whole trilemma we all know. So enterprises will need to make certain decisions where the compute of certain applications will need to run. Would I imagine a world in the next 5 years where we can train actually AI models in a blockchain? I don't believe it, honestly. I think there are some great starting points with federated learning, etc., and also the privacy enhancing technologies are helping, but it's just the compute intensive. Why would you distribute it if you can make it cheaper in your own data center, right? So I think that's my answer to the first part. The second part is about the contract law and the consensus. Enterprises are like an organization by definition, right? And if I think about enterprise processes, SAP is selling enterprise processes to companies. If you have a process inside your company, there's also no reason to use blockchain for it. You can do it perfectly in your own solution because you trust yourself. So making an internal order easier, done, cheaper in the cloud world because it's an inside process. But the benefit Web3 actually is having, like you said, in the consensus world with all the contract laws, if you need to engage with an external party, could be an organization, could be an employee, could be whatever, and making this inter-business process much more efficient and faster. So I hope this answers it in a way. Perfect. I think there was another question somewhere.
Do we have one more question? Yes, here, please.
Hello, great presentation. My question is, in your opinion, what domains are going to be the main adopters and who will push the border and step into the next level?
In terms of enterprises?
In terms of blockchains in enterprises.
For me, it's the financial industry, to be very honest, because now they have the regulation, they have the clarity how to deal with crypto. Sure, the regulation could be also improved, and there's still some gray zone. But from the conversations I see is that at least in Europe, also now in the US with like the Bitcoin ETF and things, right? Mm-hmm. They can deal with it. And they also see this as a big business opportunity, while your traditional enterprises, maybe in manufacturing or consultancy, right? Those more traditional enterprises who do not have like a close proximity to this technology, they're still far down the road. I would say they're more the late majority, but finance institutions at the moment really drive for it, try to figure out what's the business value, what's also the efficiency for them internally, because they have old banking systems nobody does want to touch, basically. And there is really a good opportunity to optimize this.
And a part of them, do you have any idea?
Not the, and then now I would go different. So that's the industry. Now I would go from a customer segmentation. It's small enterprises, right? They have razor thin margins, so everything that helps them make a better margin, for example, with payments, don't pay like the fee to MasterCard or Visa card, but maybe to a chain, whatever, helps them. It will take a very long time for the big enterprises. But from industry perspective, the small ones, yeah, and it's very diverse. It could be a coffee shop, it could be a small agency, maybe a consultancy, maybe a very small manufacturer. But it's really the smaller mom and pop shops, and then I think it grows up, will be then the medium-sized companies, and then maybe at some point the large ones.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, we are out of time. I did see the question, however, we are out of time. But feel free to network with Simon. Simon is going to be here for the rest of the day and tomorrow, I hope. So feel free to talk to him privately. He's a really nice guy, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be more than glad to talk to you. And with that being said, please give it up for Simon.